The first time I saw him, I didn't know he was a military VIP. To me, he was just another patient rolled through the emergency entrance at 2:17 a.m., pale, unconscious, and bleeding through layers of perfectly pressed civilian clothes that didn't match the men surrounding him. I was 3 weeks into my job as a registered nurse at St. Matthew's Medical Center. Still memorizing supply closets. Still double-checking medication dosages even when I was sure. Still feeling that tight knot in my stomach every time the trauma doors burst open. That night, the doors didn't just burst open. They were forced wide by men in dark suits with earpieces. "Clear the hall," one of them barked. The paramedics rushed in with the gurney. The patient's oxygen mask fogged with shallow breaths. There was dried blood near his temple and fresh red soaking through his side. "What happened?" I asked, already reaching for gloves. "Vehicle collision," a paramedic replied quickly. "Possible internal bleeding. BP dropping." One of the suited men stepped in front of me. "Only authorized personnel are to touch him." I blinked. "I am authorized personnel. I'm his nurse." His eyes were cold. "You'll wait for instructions." Behind him, the heart monitor we'd attached in the hallway started to beep irregularly. I felt that familiar rush of adrenaline. Training kicked in louder than fear. I moved around the suited man and grabbed the side rail of the gurney. "He's crashing," I said firmly. "Either you move or you help." For a second, no one spoke. The room seemed to hold its breath. Then Dr. Patel came running in. "What's the delay?" "Security protocols," one of the agents said. Dr. Patel didn't even look at him. "He's in my ER. Protocol is don't let him die." That was all I needed. We wheeled him into trauma room 2. I cut through the expensive fabric of his shirt to assess the wound. There was a deep laceration across his ribs, and his abdomen was rigid, never a good sign. 2 large-bore IVs, Dr. Patel ordered. "I've got it," I said. As I inserted the needle, one of the agents stepped closer. "Be careful." I shot him a look. "That's the plan." The patient's pulse weakened under my fingers. I pressed my hand against his shoulder to stabilize him as we repositioned him for imaging. It was a simple, human touch, steady, grounding. The kind we're taught can make a difference even if the patient can't respond. His eyelids fluttered. "Sir? Can you hear me?" I asked softly. For a split second, his hand moved, almost instinctively, gripping my wrist. Not hard. Just enough. The suited men tensed immediately. "He's conscious," I said. "Stay with us." His eyes opened halfway, unfocused but intense. He tried to speak, but only a rasp came out. I leaned closer so I could hear. "Don't call," he whispered. "Don't call who?" I asked. But his body went limp again as his blood pressure dropped further. "Prep for CT." "Now," Dr. Patel said. As we rushed him out, one of the agents pulled Dr. Patel aside. Their conversation was hushed but urgent. I caught only fragments. High-level clearance. National security. No public record. I didn't have time to process it. My job was simple: keep him alive. An hour later, after stabilizing him and transferring him to a secured ICU room, I finally stepped into the hallway to breathe. My scrubs were stained. My hands were still shaking slightly from the adrenaline crash. That's when the hospital administrator, Mr. Halvorsen, approached me with 2 of the suited men behind him. "Emily," he said stiffly, "did you make physical contact with the patient beyond required medical intervention?" I frowned. "Of course." He was unstable. I supported him. One of the agents spoke. "You touched his shoulder. You leaned into his personal space. You spoke to him without clearance." I stared at them. He was dying. Mr. Halvorsen avoided my eyes. "This patient is a high-ranking military official under special protection. There are strict handling protocols." "No one told me," I said, my voice rising despite myself. "And even if they had, he was in cardiac distress. You don't wait for paperwork when someone's crashing." The agent's jaw tightened. "Your actions may have compromised security." "My actions kept him alive," I shot back. The hallway felt suddenly smaller. Colder. Mr. Halvorsen cleared his throat. "Until this is reviewed, you are suspended from duty effective immediately." The words hit harder than I expected. "Suspended?" I repeated. For doing my job? For violating VIP handling protocol. I looked past them, toward the ICU doors where the man lay hooked to machines because we had moved fast enough. If I had waited for your protocol, I said quietly, he'd be dead. No one answered. Security escorted me to the locker room as if I were the threat. I changed out of my bloodstained scrubs in silence, my mind replaying every second. The touch. For a moment, I thought it was some kind of cruel joke. The office of the Secretary of Defense? I repeated, standing in the hospital parking lot with my locker key still clutched in my hand. Yes, ma'am, the voice replied, calm and precise. This call is being recorded. We need to confirm a few details regarding your interaction with the patient admitted at 0217 hours. My suspension letter was still warm in my pocket. I've already been suspended, I said carefully. Is this about that? There was a pause on the other end. Papers shuffled. You were suspended? The man asked. Yes, for violating VIP handling protocol. Another pause, longer this time. That is unexpected. Cold wind cut through my thin jacket. I moved to my car and leaned against the door. Can you describe exactly what occurred when the patient regained partial consciousness? The voice asked. I closed my eyes, replaying it. He was hypotensive. Pulse weak. I stabilized his shoulder while Dr. Patel prepared for imaging. I asked if he could hear me. He grabbed my wrist. Tried to speak. What did he say? He said, "Don't call," and then he lost consciousness again. Silence. "Don't call who?" the voice pressed. He didn't finish. Another shuffle of papers. A quiet exchange between what sounded like two men on speaker. Did you observe any unusual behavior from the security detail? The man asked. I hesitated. I had never spoken to federal officials before. I was a rookie nurse from a middle-class family who still had student loans and a second-hand car. They seemed more concerned about controlling access than about his vitals, I admitted. One of them physically blocked me from approaching the gurney. Did anyone instruct you to withhold treatment? Yes. I was told to wait for authorization before touching him. And you proceeded anyway? Yes, I said, my voice steady now. Because he was crashing. Another pause. Then, unexpectedly, the tone shifted. You likely saved his life. The words landed softly but heavily. I swallowed. That's what we're trained to do. You may have done more than that, he added. My grip tightened on my phone. What does that mean? I'm not at liberty to discuss operational details. However, the patient is not simply a high-ranking officer. He is involved in sensitive matters of national security. His request, "Don't call," is significant. A chill crawled up my spine. Significant how? It suggests he may not have trusted everyone present. My mind flashed back to the suited men. The way they watched me. The tension when he grabbed my wrist. Are you saying? I am saying, the voice interrupted gently, that your immediate medical response prevented outside parties from intervening during a critical window. Outside parties? You mean his own security? I whispered. I did not say that. Headlights swept across the parking lot as a car pulled in. I suddenly felt very visible. What happens now? I asked. For now, you are not to discuss this incident with anyone. Not colleagues. Not family. You may receive contact from additional federal personnel. I let out a shaky breath. I've already been escorted out like I committed a crime. There was another pause. When he spoke again, there was steel in his voice. That will be addressed. Before I could respond, a black SUV rolled slowly into the lot and stopped 2 spaces away from me. The windows were tinted. My heart began to pound. Are you currently at the hospital? The voice asked. Yes. Do you see a black government vehicle approaching? Yes, I whispered. Remain calm. They are there for you. For me. My pulse spiked. Am I under investigation? No, Nurse Carter. You are under federal protection. The SUV doors opened. 2 different men stepped out, similar suits, but something about them felt different. Less aggressive. More official. The man on the phone spoke one last time. The Pentagon will be contacting St. Matthew's administration within the hour. Your suspension will be reviewed at the highest level. Until then, please cooperate with the agents approaching you. The call ended. One of the men from the SUV approached, holding up a badge. Ma'am, we're with Defense Protective Services. We need you to come with us. I stared at him, my suspension letter crumpling in my hand. Why? Because, he said quietly, the man you treated just woke up. My breath caught. And he's asking for the nurse who didn't wait for permission. The ride to the federal building downtown was silent. I sat in the back of the SUV, hands folded in my lap, trying to steady my breathing. The two agents in the front didn't make small talk. They didn't look back. The city outside the tinted windows felt distant, unreal, like I was watching someone else's life unfold. An hour ago, I was a suspended rookie nurse. Now I was under federal protection. We didn't return to the hospital. Instead, we pulled into a secured underground garage beneath a government building I had passed 100 times without ever noticing. Inside, everything moved with quiet efficiency. ID scans. Metal detectors. No raised voices. No chaos. Just controlled urgency. I was led into a conference room with a long table and a single pitcher of water in the center. No windows. Please wait here, one agent said. I sat down slowly. 5 minutes later, the door opened. A woman in a navy suit stepped in, followed by a man in military uniform, 2 stars on his shoulders. I stood immediately. At ease, the general said gently. You're not in trouble, Nurse Carter. The woman offered a brief, professional smile. I'm Deputy Undersecretary Lena Morales. Thank you for coming. I nodded, unsure what to say. The general took a seat across from me. The patient you treated is Lieutenant General Thomas Hale. My heart skipped. Even I knew that name. He wasn't just a high-ranking officer, he was frequently on defense panels, advising on international security strategy. I'd seen him once on the news months ago. He was involved in a classified transport operation tonight, Morales continued. The official report lists it as a vehicle collision. And unofficially? I asked before I could stop myself. The two exchanged a glance. There is reason to believe the collision was not accidental, the general said evenly. The room felt colder. You think someone tried to kill him? We are evaluating that possibility. My mind replayed everything, the tension of the security detail, the way they blocked me, the urgency to control access. Why did he say, don't call? I asked quietly. Morales leaned forward. Because there are layers of clearance within military security. Not everyone assigned to protect him may have been vetted to the same level. It took a second to sink in. You're saying someone on his own security team might be compromised? We are not making accusations, she said carefully. But timing matters. When you intervened immediately, you prevented a delay. That delay could have allowed outside communication. Outside communication. My throat felt dry. So by ignoring protocol, you kept him alive long enough for internal counterintelligence to secure the situation, the general finished. I stared at them. I was just doing my job. Exactly, he said. The door opened again. One of the agents stepped in and whispered something to Morales. She nodded, then looked back at me. He's stable, awake, and insisting on speaking with you. Me? My voice cracked slightly. Why? The general's expression softened. When he regained consciousness in the ICU, he removed his oxygen mask and asked one question. Where's the nurse who ignored them? I felt my chest tighten. He remembers that? He remembers you telling him to stay with you, Morales said. He said your voice cut through the noise. Emotion caught unexpectedly in my throat. I hadn't thought he'd heard me at all. The general stood. We can arrange a secure video link now. In person may not be advisable until the internal investigation is complete. I nodded slowly. A screen was wheeled in and powered on. Static flickered, then resolved into a hospital room, but not one I recognized. It wasn't St. Matthew's ICU. It looked more secure. Guarded. Lieutenant General Hale lay propped up against pillows, pale but alert. A bandage wrapped around his side. Monitors beeped steadily. When he saw me on the screen, his eyes sharpened. That's her, he said immediately. A doctor off camera tried to intervene. Sir, you shouldn't strain. I'm fine, he muttered. His gaze locked onto mine. You didn't wait, he said. No, sir, I answered quietly. A faint smile touched his lips. Good. The room around him fell silent. They told me you were suspended, he continued, his voice still weak but steady. Is that true? Yes, sir. His jaw tightened. That will be corrected. Morales stepped slightly into view of the camera. General, we're reviewing. No, he interrupted firmly. I want it corrected. His eyes returned to mine. You did exactly what needed to be done. And you may have stopped something far worse than my death. A chill ran through me. What did you mean when you said don't call? I asked gently. For the first time, something dark flickered in his expression. I meant, he said slowly, that the wrong call in the wrong hands could have triggered a chain reaction we weren't prepared for. Protective lodging turned out to be a secure floor inside a federal residential complex on the edge of the city. It didn't look like much from the outside, just another government building with tinted windows and a guarded entrance. But inside, every door required clearance and every hallway had cameras angled with deliberate precision. I was given a small furnished suite. Neutral walls. A couch. A bed that looked too untouched to feel real. Someone had already placed a sealed bag on the kitchen counter containing basic toiletries and a change of clothes. This is temporary, the agent assigned to me said. His name was Collins. Early 30s. Calm eyes. Observant. How temporary? I asked. Depends on how fast internal affairs moves. That didn't comfort me. My phone had been temporarily replaced with a secure device. My personal one was being mirrored for safety screening. I wasn't allowed to contact coworkers. My parents were told only that I had been called into an extended hospital review. Everything felt controlled. Too controlled. Late that evening, there was a knock at my suite door. Collins stood outside. He wants to see you in person, he said. My pulse jumped. General Hale? Yes. He's been moved. To here? Collins nodded. The idea that a two-star general was in the same building because of what happened in my trauma bay felt surreal. We walked down 2 secured corridors before stopping at a guarded room. 2 armed officers stood outside. One scanned Collins' badge. The other glanced at me, then stepped aside. Inside, the lights were dim but warm. Monitors hummed quietly. The general was sitting upright this time, no oxygen mask, though he still looked pale. When he saw me, he dismissed the medical officer with a subtle nod. Close the door, he told Collins. The door shut. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I owe you more than thanks, he said finally. You don't owe me anything, I replied. You are my patient. He studied me carefully. Do you know why I was being transported without public notice? I shook my head. I was carrying authorization codes, he said quietly. Codes that required my biometric confirmation. My heart began to pound again. Codes for what? In the event of a confirmed foreign cyber intrusion targeting defense satellites, I had authority to initiate a containment sequence. I didn't fully understand the technical details, but I understood enough. If you had died, I whispered. Those codes would have been inaccessible, he finished. And certain people would have benefited from the confusion. The room felt heavy with implication. The 2 supplemental agents, he continued, were added after departure. I questioned it. I was told it came from higher authorization. But it didn't, I said. He gave a slow nod. It appears not. A quiet knock interrupted us. Collins stepped halfway in. Sir, he said carefully, there's something you need to see. He handed the general a tablet. Hale's jaw tightened as he read. What is it? I asked. He turned the screen toward me. It was a news alert. Rookie nurse suspended after violating military VIP security protocol. My stomach dropped. There was my name. My photo, pulled from the hospital website. The article framed me as reckless. Emotional. Interfering with trained security personnel. They leaked it, I breathed. Not us, Collins said immediately. The general's voice hardened. This is narrative shaping. To discredit me, I said. To isolate you, he corrected. The article implied I had jeopardized national security, which meant if something happened to me now, people might believe I deserved it. My hands began to shake. This is bigger than internal corruption, I whispered. Yes, Hale said quietly. It is. Another notification flashed on the tablet. This one from the Pentagon press office. Statement pending regarding hospital incident. Hale looked at Collins. Push it now. Collins nodded and stepped out to relay the instruction. I stared at the headline with my name still glowing beneath it. My parents will see this, I said softly. They will also see the correction, Hale replied. You're sure? His eyes met mine with steady certainty. I am about to make a public statement clarifying that you acted under my direct request. I blinked. But you didn't. I'm aware, he said. However, I can confirm that I ordered immediate medical intervention without delay. That's not entirely accurate. It is now, he said calmly. I realized what he was doing. Shielding me. If you defend me publicly, I said carefully, whoever tried to stop you will know you suspect something. They already know, he replied. Silence settled between us. Why risk it? I asked. His expression softened slightly. Because systems fail when good people are punished for doing the right thing. My throat tightened unexpectedly. A few minutes later, Collins returned. It's live. Hale looked back at me. By morning, the headline had changed, but the damage had already begun spreading. The Pentagon's official statement was direct and unmistakable. Nurse Emily Carter acted under urgent medical necessity and at the expressed request of Lieutenant General Thomas Hale. Her actions were decisive and contributed to the preservation of a critical national security asset. Critical national security asset. That was how they referred to him. And just beneath it, the hospital released a brief correction. St. Matthew's Medical Center regrets the premature administrative action taken regarding Nurse Carter. She remains a valued member of our staff. Valued. 12 hours earlier, I had been escorted out like a liability. Now news outlets were running side-by-side comparisons of the two statements. Commentators debated protocol versus instinct. Medical forums defended me. Veterans groups flooded social media with support. But mixed in with the praise were darker threads. If she disobeyed security once, what else would she disobey? Sounds staged. Why was she really there? Collins monitored everything from a laptop in the secure suite. They're testing the narrative, he said. Seeing what sticks. Who is they? I asked. That, he replied, is what we're narrowing down. Later that afternoon, Morales and the general convened a small briefing. I wasn't required to attend, but Hale insisted. You're part of this whether we like it or not, he said. The conference room inside the facility was quieter than the one downtown, but the tension felt sharper. A digital map glowed on the wall. Data points clustered around timelines. Morales began. The two supplemental agents used cloned credentials pulled from an inactive defense database. The breach originated from an internal terminal. Inside the Pentagon? I asked. Yes. The word landed heavy. Has the terminal been traced? Hale asked. It was wiped within 6 minutes of the accident, she replied. But we recovered partial login fragments. She tapped the screen. A name appeared. Then another. Both senior-level contractors. Contractors have access, Hale muttered. Less scrutiny. More flexibility. And plausible deniability, Morales added. I sat there absorbing it. This wasn't random corruption. It was layered. Planned. The collision itself? Hale asked. Engineered, she said. Traffic cam footage shows the transport vehicle was forced into the divider. The supplemental escort vehicle slowed intentionally. Silence. They were ensuring impact, Hale said flatly. Yes. A chill crept up my spine again. If the plan had worked, I said quietly, it would have looked like a tragic accident. And the missing codes would have caused operational confusion, Morales finished. Hale leaned back slowly. But it didn't work, he said. No, she agreed. Because I didn't wait. The room fell quiet again. Then Collins' secure phone vibrated sharply against the table. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. What? Morales asked. Collins hesitated only a second. There's been an attempted breach at St. Matthew's. My heart stopped. What kind of breach? I asked, my voice barely steady. Server access, he said. Someone attempted to pull archived ER surveillance from the night of the incident. To alter it? I whispered. Or delete it, Morales replied. Were they successful? Hale asked. Collins shook his head. Access was blocked. But it confirms something. That someone is still trying to control the story, I finished. Yes. Hale's eyes turned to me. This is why they wanted you discredited immediately. So if anything happened to me, I said slowly, it would look like fallout from my own reckless behavior. Morales didn't deny it. A heavy understanding settled over the room. This was no longer just about saving Hale's life. It was about exposure. They miscalculated one thing, Hale said quietly. What? I asked. He held my gaze. They assumed you would hesitate. I thought back to that moment in the trauma bay, the suited man blocking my path, the monitor beeping irregularly, my training louder than fear. I hadn't been brave. I'd been certain. There's a difference. Morales' tablet chimed again. She scanned it, then allowed herself the faintest smile. Internal Affairs has detained one of the contractors. The air shifted. On what charge? Hale asked. Unauthorized database access and falsified clearance routing. And the second, he pressed. Under surveillance. A long breath escaped my lungs, one I hadn't realized I was holding. This doesn't end today, Morales said carefully. But the direction has changed. Hale nodded once. For the first time since last night, he said, they're reacting instead of directing. He looked back at me. You walked into a trauma room and did your job. I managed a small, tired smile. That's what nurses do. No, he said firmly. That's what professionals with integrity do.